Okay, so this question is about an alloy containing silicon in SAT Practice Test 7. So this question states that there is an alloy that has a total mass of 50 grams, and it is, 50 grams, right? And then it is 50% silicon. So let's say 50% S. Right, so it's 50% silicon by mass. And this sample, the 50 grams, was created by two different alloys. The first piece had 30% of silicon by mass, and then the second one had 80% silicon by mass. So looking at these two different ones, two different pieces. Actually, let's just start from here. So we know that this 50 grams, because 50% of its mass is silicon, so we can look at it like this, as it is 25 grams total, right? So this is basically all the information we'll need to start. Now, this 50 grams was made by combining the first sample plus the second sample's mass. And so with this is equivalent to 50, right? And we know with that 30% of the first sample, or 0.3 of the first sample's mass is silicon, and 80%, or 0.8 of the second sample's mass is silicon, and this would be equivalent to the total silicon in the total sample, which is 25. So from here you can solve. Okay, so the question asks, what was the mass in grams of the silicon in the second piece? So we're just trying to find this value, 0.8 y. And from here, you could easily do this by just moving this part to the other side, subtracting 0.8 y to the other side, and then you would have 0.3x is equal to 25 minus 0.8 y, and then you divide 0.3 by both sides to get x alone, and then you just substitute x back into the equation here, and then you can solve from y pretty easily there with a calculator. Now, when you end up doing this, what you will get is y. So y should be equivalent to 20. So 0.8 of y should be 16. Now, you could look at this question, and the way that the question's answers are given is A is 9, B is 16, C is 20, and D is 30. Now, you could just go ahead and do all this, do all this math here, or you could just be kind of smart and look at the question, because it's simple to do 50% of 50 in your head. It should be. And doing that, you know that 25 grams of silicon, right? So the first piece has 30% silicon, and second piece has 80% silicon. And from this, looking at the answer choices, we know that because, 25 grams of silicon, right? Now, if we're looking for the amount of silicon in the second sample, we know that we know that if the second sample has 80% of silicon, and you combine that with 30% of silicon in the first sample, we know that 20 just can't be a possibility, right? And then 30, obviously not, because that's greater than the amount of silicon that we have at the end. And then looking at A for 9, to argue against this, like if you had, say, I mean, what if 9 was 80% of silicon, then total would be something that is just a little bit bigger, and then you add that up with some others, with some far bigger number, that would make the first sample's 30% silicon to be equivalent to 25, but then the 50 just doesn't work. So we know that it just can't be 9. And so you're just realistically left with 16. I mean, yeah, just sometimes you could just logic through these and get the question done in, say, 30 seconds.